You know, life has this strange, almost magical way of flipping the script when we least expect it. One moment, the powerful laugh. The next moment, they stand frozen, exposed by their own actions. I once witnessed a scene inside a small café that reminded me that dignity doesn't come from the size of your bank account. It comes from the size of your heart. And that day, a waitress's little daughter walked in with more grace than the richest men in the room, right before their billionaire boss stepped through the door and saw everything. There's something profoundly humbling about watching a child walk into a room with innocence, unaware of the invisible hierarchies adults build around themselves. That morning, the cafe was filled with the kind of polished confidence that expensive suits tend to create. The rich employees sitting at the corner table carried themselves like they owned every space they entered. You could feel it in their exaggerated laughter, in the way they snapped their fingers for service, and in the careless arrogance that comes when someone believes they are untouchable. But life doesn't revolve around who looks important. Sometimes life revolves around the person cleaning the tables after those so-called important people leave. And on that day, it revolved around a mother, a waitress, who had been working double shifts for weeks just to make ends meet. She wasn't the type to complain. She simply tightened her apron, straightened her posture, and moved through her day with quiet grace, even if exhaustion clung to her like a shadow. Her daughter had come to the cafe that morning because her school had closed early. The girl was small, with soft curls and bright eyes that carried none of the bitterness the world sometimes plants too early in children. She walked in holding a small notebook, probably her homework or a drawing she was excited to show her mother. But the moment she stepped through the door, her eyes caught something she had never seen before: a group of adults laughing at her. Not laughing near her, not laughing around her, laughing at her. The employees, the rich ones, nudged each other, whispering things they assumed she wouldn't hear. Comments about her clothes, which were clean but clearly old. Comments about the faded patches on her backpack. Comments about her mother wiping tables while they sipped imported coffee. All of it said with the kind of superiority that reveals how small a heart can really be. And the little girl, she understood. Children always do. They pretend not to, but they hear everything. She stood there for a moment, clutching her notebook just a little tighter, her fingers pressing into the paper as if trying to disappear behind it. Her mother saw it too. She glanced over with that instinctive protective flash in her eyes, the kind mothers get when their child is hurt but they can't step away from their responsibilities. She couldn't leave her tray. She couldn't abandon her work. She could only give her daughter the soft reassurance of a smile, as if telling her, "Baby, don't let them break your spirit, you are worth more than they will ever understand." I watched all of this quietly, observing how the room subtly shifted. The laughter of the employees grew louder, more careless, as if the presence of a child made it easier for them to flaunt their entitlement. Maybe they thought no one important was watching. Maybe they thought they were safe behind the shield of wealth and job titles. But arrogance has a short memory. Life does not. Just as one of them made a particularly cruel remark, something about the poor learning their place, the cafe door opened again. And this time, the air changed. No one noticed him at first. He didn't walk in with a dramatic flourish. He didn't make an entrance that demanded attention. But the billionaire, the very man these employees worked for, entered quietly, dressed simply, without his usual entourage. He liked to observe people when they thought no one was watching. He had come early, before his scheduled meeting, because he enjoyed supporting small local businesses. And that day, he was about to witness something that would stay with him far longer than any boardroom discussion. He saw the employees first, their laughter, their mocking smiles, their smug, relaxed posture. Then he saw the little girl, standing small and confused, trying not to cry. Then he saw the mother, trying to comfort her child while keeping her professionalism intact. Something hardened in his expression, though it was subtle. A shift only a careful observer would catch. He walked slowly toward the counter, pretending not to know the employees. He wanted to see how far they would go. The little girl finally moved toward a corner table and quietly sat down. She opened her notebook, drawing, writing, or simply trying to distract herself. But her eyes lifted every few seconds toward her mother, seeking comfort, as if making sure she wasn't alone in the world. The employees continued their mockery, louder now, because they assumed they were among equals. They believed their wealth, borrowed, earned, or inherited, placed them above anyone who had to serve rather than be served. And the billionaire, their boss, listened. Every word, every laugh, every sigh the mother swallowed because she couldn't afford to show pain. Then something happened, something so small yet so powerful. The little girl stood up, approached her mother and whispered, "Mama, I'm sorry, sorry." As if she had done something wrong. As if being poor was a crime. As if kindness and humility were something to apologize for. Her mother knelt down slightly, and held her daughter's cheeks gently. "Never say sorry for who you are," she whispered back, her voice trembling just enough to reveal her hurt, but steady enough to protect her child from it. "You are my pride." And right then, the billionaire stepped forward. His voice cut through the cafe like quiet thunder, not loud, not angry, just firm. "Is this how you represent my company?" The employees froze. You could see the color drain from their faces as they turned toward him, realizing who had been standing there long enough to hear everything. Suddenly the laughter died, replaced by fear, not because they respected him but because their actions had consequences. They scrambled to stand up, to straighten their clothes. But there was no polishing the ugliness of what they had just displayed. He didn't shout, he didn't need to. Sometimes the most powerful people are the ones who speak softly because their presence alone commands attention. He looked at the little girl first. "You have a beautiful notebook," he said gently, kneeling slightly to meet her eyes. "I hope you keep writing. The world needs voices like yours." Then he turned to her mother. He apologized, sincerely, for what his own employees had done. He spoke to her with respect, acknowledging her dignity, her work ethic, and the strength it takes to serve others with kindness, even when the world doesn't return it. And then, he turned to his employees. "I don't measure success by bank accounts," he said. "I measure it by character. Today you all failed." Silence, heavy, cutting. "From this day forward," he continued, "anyone who looks down on another human being, inside or outside the office, will not work for me. Wealth means nothing if it refuses to carry compassion." The employees bowed their heads ashamed, not because they suddenly saw the error of their ways, but because their arrogance had finally met someone who saw through it. The billionaire didn't offer them a second chance that day. He believed in redemption, yes, but he also believed in accountability. And sometimes, consequences are the only language arrogance understands. As for the little girl, he bought her mother's café a year later, renovated it, expanded it, offered the mother a managerial role with a salary that would ensure her daughter would never feel small again. The employees learned a hard truth that day: a uniform does not define a person, poverty does not diminish worth, and cruelty, no matter how dressed up in wealth, always exposes itself. But kindness reveals something far more powerful: the heart of a person who, even in silence, stands taller than those who laugh. And that is why true greatness will never be measured by money, but by the humanity we choose to show.